So let's do the subclass D&D tier list now. But we're only going to do 24 of these. I'll do 2 from each. I'll do the best from each class. Okay, so we'll start with Barbarian. Totem Warrior, I think is B. I think it's B. I think it makes Barbarian fun. I think that it adds more utility. I think it adds so much more that they can do. It's too bad that they don't have Path of Wild Magic on here, because I would definitely be adding that onto it. But because they don't...
A few moments later.
I think Wild Soul is the best one. Primarily because I love Wild Magic so much. I think that it adds a lot of flavor and a lot of fun to it. I think that it adds a new element to Barbarian. More randomness is not always good, but in terms of Barbarian, which is probably the most just doing the same thing over and over again class, I think adding that onto it makes it really fun. And because of the utility, I think that it makes the funness actually, it being good adds to the funness. I think that Totem Warrior, with its added utility, added action economy, makes it just below Wild Soul, because I think that magic just pretty much bumps anything up in terms of power. You know what, actually? I think that Totem Warrior, in terms of its tanking utility, is better. Or is right along with it. The only reason why I'm going to put Wild Soul ahead of it is because I think Wild Soul is more fun. Wizard subclasses. Blade Singing is SS. It's actually crazy. I don't think that I need to... Okay, I'll explain it. So Blade Singing gives you the damage and utility of Wizard while being a melee subclass, while also allowing you to have some of the highest AC in the entire game, while also giving you pseudo maneuvers during this transformation into Blade Singing. That lasts for a long period of time, that can be used multiple times in one combat, that rejuvenates on a long rest. Blade Singing is absolutely busted. Look at this Song of Defense bullshit, dude. You can direct your magic to absorb damage while your Blade Song is active. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to expend 1 spell slot and reduce that damage to you by an amount equal to 5 times the spell slot's level. Don't have anything really to say about that. Unironically, I think that Scribe is really fun, but I'm going to put Divination as A+ tier. I think that Divination and its ability to really excel in longer form combat makes it better than Evocation, Necromancy, just in pure ability to stay in the fight for so long. I think that their archetypes are actually pretty good as well. You're basically getting Arcane Recovery every time you cast a spell. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. That's nutty. Lore. SS tier. I think it's better. This is a controversial opinion. I think Lore is the best subclass in the entire game. Not only do you not need to buy any other books for D&D other than the Player's Handbook to get access to this, but it gives some of the best RP bonuses in the entire game. It gives expertise. You have a great spell list. Your Bardic Inspiration is increased. Again, you have Song of Rest. Forget about it. Actually crazy. You know what? Actually, say this a lot, but let's go just check out what Lore Bards get. So Cutting Words, it's basically opposite Bardic Inspiration, which, again, more utility than you needed. You get more magical secrets. Lore Bards are great. Okay. Ancients, also SS tier. I think they're above Blade Singing. If you don't know why Ancients are so nuts, it is because of this thing right here. That right there is actually crazy. I've said that a lot. I know. But Aura of Warding is, in my opinion, the most powerful passive ability ever to grace this game. Aura of Warding makes it so you can start doing encounters at the 7th level that other parties at like 12th or 13th would probably struggle in, simply because of this alone. A lot of people think that 10 feet isn't all that big, but it really is. It really is. You can fully encompass every single melee class that is also fighting the same target. At the start of the fight, if you are surprised, because it is always on, say a wizard or a necromancer or whatever the hell does Cone of Cold or Fireball, everyone around you gets resistance to that damage. Which means that if they succeed on the roll, it's quartered. The damage is quartered to them if it's a dex save. Actually invaluable. Actually invaluable. I think that is, just because it's passive is crazy to me. It's either Conquest or Vengeance.
20 minutes later.
This is why I think that Conquest is actually better than Vengeance, is because of Guided Strike, right? Plus 10 to the roll, dude. Just a plus 10 flat bonus. You multi-class Divine Soul with Conquest, and you have we'll just throw in all the ones, right? But this isn't even that hard, right? You throw in like a bunch of theoretical instances, right? Well, this isn't hard. You just have a bard and then a multi-classing paladin, and this paladin can add plus 10 to a roll, plus 2d4, and then plus bardic inspiration. Dude could literally hit anything. You could roll a natural 1, well, not a natural 1 because that's an automatic miss, at least in my campaign. But you could roll a natural 2, right? And then you can just like continue, you just hit whatever the hell you want, right? And then as Vlad is saying right now, yeah, Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master plus Quicken Spell, Whole Person. Plus Guided Strike. Erased. And I'll put this in S, because I think all paladins are actually nuts. Okay. Cleric. Peace breaks the damn game. I think they are actually... I lied before. I think Peace Clerics are some of the best in the entire game. Balm of Peace. You're going to store... As an action, you can move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. And when you move 5 feet of any creature during this action, you can restore a number of hit points to that creature equal to 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier. A creature can receive this healing only once whenever you take this action. Balm of Peace is the best channel divinity in the entire game. You can heal up your entire party, depending on where they are, for a large amount. Not only that, but Bond is... dude, like the balance just wasn't here. You know what I mean? The bond you forge between people helps them protect each other. When a creature affected by your emboldening bond feature is about to take damage, a second bonded creature within 30 feet of the first can use its reaction to teleport a non-occupied space within 5 feet of the first creature. The second creature takes all the damage instead. So you have a barbarian or a moon druid, right? Tons of damage. It doesn't matter. They're just there, and it doesn't affect your wizard. It doesn't affect your sorcerer. It doesn't affect your ranger. It doesn't affect your melee. Even your melee can be affected. It doesn't need to be range. Anyone who's about to go down, it doesn't matter. And then, you know what? If they're about to go down, you use the bond, and then you use Balm of Peace, and then, I don't know, they're healed up to full. It's a second level. It's second level. Actually crazy. I don't need to think. We don't need to talk about the expansive bond or anything like that. It just makes protective bond even more crazy. And as Vlad is saying, it does stack with Bless. I agree with you 100%. entirely trivializes encounters. I think lore is great. I think that peace clerics are actually so busted that I would consider banning them from the game. Because it makes combat, I think that combat needs stakes in D&D. And I think that with a peace cleric, unless you specifically target the peace cleric, which would be sort of metagamey and would make the cleric not have any fun, right? If you just target the cleric every time, then they're not having fun. But as a DM, again, in order for combat to be fun, in my opinion, for a campaign, you need stakes, right? If you don't have this constant, or not constant, but if you don't even have the hint of the possibility that someone goes down or even dies, then you're just sort of like, you're rolling, you're going through the actions. Peace clerics make that a reality. It doesn't matter how hard it is at the 2nd or 6th levels. Oh my gosh, why is my nose so itchy? Oh. They get, they can have 18 to 19 AC, and then they just sort of keep everyone else alive while you're actually, you're right. Even if you do get to just target and just sort of like put your thumb on the cleric, you're gonna miss. The thumb is just gonna slip right up because they have 18 AC. Sometimes they have 19. And that actually brings me so well to the next best one, in my opinion, which is the Forge. I think clerics of the Forge are crazy. I once saw a cleric of the Forge with no magic items whatsoever have an AC of 21. I don't know if you know anything about clerics of the Forge, but they're crazy. They're actually insane. So, Blessing of the Forge. At first level, you gain the ability to imbue magic into a weapon or armor. At the end of a long rest, you can ditch one non-magical object that is a suit of armor or a simple or martial weapon until the end of your next long rest, or until you die. The object becomes a magic item granting +1 bonus to AC, or +1 to attack. So they just give you +1s. +1 magic item for free every day without using a spell slot or anything like that, and it just keeps going on, okay? It is exactly what the cleric was a Forge domain Warforged cleric. And it's actually nuts. Again, when you add in Soul of the Forge and you gain resistance to fire damage, which is the most common magical damage in the entire game, you just don't do any damage. And then while you're wearing heavy armor, you gain another +1 to AC, because why not? And then if you add a Warforged in, I believe they get another, I think it's only +1, but then just by being yourself, you have +3 to AC. Which, again, if you're wearing heavy armor plus a shield, you get 18 naturally, and then +3 for any of that. You have 21 AC unbuffed by spells. And then if you have things like shield, like in a spell storing, you can have 26 AC. And that's at level 6, by the way. You can have 26 AC at level 6. Okay, Divine Soul, I think, is the best one. I think that Divine Soul is the best sorcerer. Favored by the gods. Let me just show you. Starting at first level, Divine Power guards your destiny. If you fail a saving throw or miss it with an attack roll, you can roll 2d4 and add it to the total, possibly changing the outcome. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. At face value, you're like, well, that sounds stupid, right? If you just read over it once, you're like, well, that's not too great. And then you read over it again, and you read first level. At first level, they get this. Okay. That's pretty crazy, right? That's pretty crazy. If you fail a saving throw, which means that you can decide to use this after you know the outcome, which is different than Bardic Inspiration. It's different than Inspiration, and it's different than Flash of Genius, which is from the Artificers. Favored by the Gods is crazy. It's so good. And then especially when you combine that with something like Bardic Inspiration. And then it also gives, if you depending on your alignment, you can use Cure Wounds or Inflict Wounds. Now, Inflict Wounds is, in my opinion, the best early game melee spell in the entire game. It does crazy damage, And along with this, sorcerers can quicken it or twin it, actually. They can actually twin the spell. And then you just do 3d10 damage. It's a first level spell. 3d10 necrotic damage. And if you quicken it, that's 6d10. That's 6d10 at level 3. Yeah, so Divine Soul. Crazy. Wild Magic. I don't think is good. I don't think is as good as Divine Soul. But I'll be damned if they aren't the most fun magic class in the entire game. In fact, they are so fun that I think that they deserve A+. I think the Wild Magic sorcerers are A+, especially if you have a DM that lets you roll on the Wild Magic table a lot. Wild Magic is so much fun. Immunity to all drunkenness for like how many days? It doesn't matter. But you get immunity to drunkenness, or you just cast a fireball on yourself. That can be a TPK right then and there. You just TPK yourself. And is that kind of behavior? It's those kind of stakes that make me enjoy D&D. Okay. So. Oh, true. I didn't do another bard. Thank you. I think Sword Bard. I think Sword Bard is actually S tier. I don't think it's as good as lore, but I think Sword Bard has a lot of good damage potential, especially with its flourishes. I think defensive flourish is crazy, especially in 1v1 combat. Great. Like I was talking about before, a lot of utility, excellent action economy. The ability to increase your AC by your Bardic Inspiration die is chef's kiss. Absolutely chef's kiss. I've seen bards get up to 23 AC while still having Bardic Inspiration, while still having Song of Rest, while actually outputting a lot of damage because they get extra attacks. Along with this, they get flourishes that make them immune to opportunity attacks in the same turn. They're excellent. And you know what? Honestly, as a bonus to this, they get the entire Bard spell list, right? And they're extremely fun to play. And that is honestly one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of it. Peace, whereas it might not be so much fun as, Lore Bard and Peace are fun in different ways. Peace Bard is super fun if you're into being the most powerful motherfucker alive. Same with Ancients. Lore Bard is fun if you just like having a good old time, and that's very important. Okay. Oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry. My nose is so itchy. Shield is a bonus action. Yes, actually. And it's actually better than Shield as a bonus action because because it doesn't use a spell slot. It uses a Bardic Inspiration die, which is less important than spell slots. I'm going to put Hexblade. Hexblade, I'll put in B. No, I'll put A. I'll put A because it has much more utility than Totem Warrior. It's more fun. You still get Eldritch Blast. You get Hexblade's Curse, which is so good and so much fun. You can also pair that with Hex, which is a lot of fun. The Warlock spell list is actually super cool despite not being able to cast it very much. But it's counteracted by the fact that you can regain all those spell slots on a short rest, which is something that no other class can do. I mean, Wizards can obviously do Arcane Recovery, but that is only once per long rest, whereas Warlocks can do it whenever the hell they want. You get a short rest, you get all of your spell slots back. I'm not even kidding you. I've never seen that used, but that is crazy, dude. That's actually nuts. I am tempted to put that shit in SS tier. Yeah, dude. Wow. You actually just blew my mind, Vlad. As a forever DM, I'm actually shocked that I've never seen this because it's also spicy. That's spicy. It's so easy to incorporate, right? You just find a genie and then you can flavor it anytime you want. And any way you want. That's actually nuts. Wow. Came out in Tasha's. That makes sense. Wow. Actually, I need to really like look at this because like if you're talking about, right, you know, have resistance to damage in as an action. Dude, that flying speed shit is like nuts.
Moments later.
Yeah. Unironically, I think that's S. Hester. Moon. Actually, okay, wait, okay. Sorry. Now that I'm looking at Moon's power, I think that Moon is still more powerful than Genie. And I'm going to put it as the top of the Esther because I don't think that it holds a candle to Moon. I think that Moon is actually better than that. I think the Moon is actually... oh boy, dude. I'm going to put it at S because it still is limited by the amount of spell slots that Warlocks have. But it's definitely crazy. I think that it's actually crazy. I think that Moon Druid is nuts. I think that Peace and Moon Druid are probably the most debated subclasses in the Dungeons and Dragons community, from what I can see at least. I think that there are a couple things that are really debated in the D&D community. I think that Moon Druid and Peace Druid are one of them, and I think that the power of Fireball and Healing Word are the other ones that are debated. You think Moon is number one? Yeah, Moonbeam is actually crazy. They get access to the entire Druid spell list. They are the best tanking class in the game while simultaneously being one of the best healing classes, if not tied with Cleric. I think that Moon Druid... Oh, man, dude. Because here's the thing, dude. I think that Moon Druid... I think that Druids have a better spell list than Clerics do. I know that's controversial, but I actually unironically think that in certain campaigns... No, not even certain campaigns. I think that Druids unironically have a better spell list. And I think that they are the best class in the game. Hands down. I think they can do everything. And I think that Clerics can also do quite a fair amount of stuff. But I don't think that they can output the same amount of damage consistently as Druids can. But I think Moon Druid is the best class in the entire game. I think it has too much utility. I'm not going to talk about this much. I think Beastmaster is the only good ranger. And I'm going to put that in C. I think Swarmkeeper is also pretty cool. Never seen it played though. That's Ranger. Battlesmith. Let's do Artificer now. The next ones are easy, right? The next ones are actually like easy as hell. So, the one that I've seen used for Artificer is Battlesmith. Quite a bit. I think Battlesmith is A+. I think Battlesmith... Forgot the second Druid? Oh my goodness. How could I forget? I think Shepherd and Land are pretty good. I think Spores is the second best one. And I think that it is S tier. I think it is worse than Conquest, but I think it is better than Swords. I think Battlesmith is the worst of the A+. Actually, I think it's A. And I think it's worse than... I think it's better than Hexblade because of utility it brings with its infusions. Again, like I said before, I think that Artificer relies very heavily on the actual campaign that you're playing. Again, Bag of Holding could be nuts for a campaign that doesn't give you Bag of Holding or has a lot of encumbrance. But it could be absolutely useless for a campaign in which you're just given a Bag of Holding, like a lot of campaigns do, so that you don't need to worry about inventory. Battlesmith brings a lot to the table.
Moments later.
I actually don't think Battlesmith is all that great. Don't tell that to Mac. So I think that Alchemist and Artillerist are the best Artificer classes. I think Battlesmith is only good in certain campaigns, and I think that if it's so reliant on your DM, then it's really not that great. I think that Alchemist is better than... I think they're both A. I think that Alchemist is better than Hexblade, though. Yeah, Artificers, dude, it's a big bummer because I think that Artificers could have so much more. It's sort of like Artificers remind me of Necromancers in the fact that Necromancers in 5e are so underwhelming. You really have to homebrew shit for necromancy in order for it to even get on the radar. Like, if you look at divination or blade singing, for instance, what is the reason other than spice? And spice is important, right? But what is the reason if you're trying to power game, as Drunk Lemur might? What is the reason if you're not trying to power game, if you're trying to power game for picking necromancy over divination or blade singing? Blade singing has better AC by a large margin and better utility. Divination has that long con, right? You just keep having spells, whereas necromancy has what? Some really, really, really underwhelming summons. And with Tasha's Cauldron of everything, right? You can just get summon undead even if you're not a necromancer. Really not cool. And Artificer, I think in my opinion, falls under that same gray area. Arcane Archer. Shit's good. I think that Arcane Archer is really good. I think that Arcane Archer is better than Alchemist actually, because they can. No, because I think that Artificer bring a lot more to the table in terms of spells, which means I think that it's actually worse than both of those. Yeah. God, fighter, Battlemaster, 100%. I think that Battlemaster is better than Hexblade. I think that it's better than Alchemist. I think that is the best A tier class. I think that Fighter Battlemaster is the pinnacle of balance. I think that Battlemaster Fighter gives Fighter enough utility to where it's fun and you can add so much more flavor to what you're doing. It also allows you to strategize more. It gives support to your fellow players through some of the maneuvers. It gives you a lot of power, and it gives, most importantly, it gives the player a lot more agency over their actions through these maneuvers. I think Swashbuckler is right here, and I think that Soul Knife is actually right here. I think that's great. Man, that's fantastic. Dude, I'm learning so much from you guys. My favorite class. Monks is my favorite class. I'm going to put Drunken Master. In the A tier. I think they're the bottom of the A plus. I can't let my bias get in the way. I think they're actually pretty great. I think the Drunken Master Monks bring a lot to the table, especially since they still have Stunning Strike. And I think that their drunken maneuvers, their drunken fighting styles, just keep them in the fight so much longer. It gives them more action economy than a regular monk does. It keeps them from being so boring, right? I think that, it doesn't. It makes it less boring than, say, Kensei, or I think Astral Self is so boring. I personally think that Mercy is better than Shadow. I don't think it's as good as Drunken Master, but I do think that it is better than all those. Hand of Healing. Your Mystical Touch can mend wounds. As an action, you can spend 1 key point to touch a creature and restore a number of hit points. Number of hit points equal to a roll of your martial arts die, plus your wisdom modifier. So it's like lay on hands, but goddamn. When you use your flurry of blows, you can replace one of the unarmed strikes with a use of this feature. Without using, yeah, dude, that's crazy. Hand of Harm. Inflict wounds. When a creature you hit with an unarmed strike, you can spend 1 key point to deal extra necrotic damage equal to 1. Physician's Touch. You can minister even greater cures with the touch. And if you feel it's necessary, you can use your knowledge to cause harm. When you use Hand of Healing on a creature, you can also end 1 disease or one of the following conditions affecting the creature. Okay, yeah, that's actually, wow, that's really good. When you use Hand of Harm on a creature, you can subject that creature to the poison condition until the next turn. Yeah, I'm yeah, dude. Healing is either weak or super good in D&D for IVU for sure. Fully related, you don't have to spend more key points to use Hand of Healing. True. So you get those for free. So that is the subclass tier list as I see it for the top classes of each. So it looks like our winners are Bard, Paladin, and Druid in general. Thank you for joining me. You can go, if you're interested in the campaign that I run, if you like my opinions, if you think that I'm tight, go over to our YouTube. You can check out a bunch of clips from the dungeon campaign. The D&D campaign that we run. I also just recently added a video talking about the foundations of character creation, what I think are the fundamentals for creating the best roleplay character you can. If you're interested in heavy roleplay campaigns, then go check out that video, along with abridged episodes of our campaign if you're interested in the story that you can go check out. But I think for now, I might get on later on, but for now, I'm super hungry. So I'm going to get off for now. Thank you all for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the tier list. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And I hope to see you on Saturday at 6 p.m. for our session.